It's that time again! Steam is having another event, and with it comes a bunch of demos for titles soon to be released, and some barely in alpha stage. This time it's Ludonarracon, an actual convention focusing on narrative-heavy games, and one I attempted to attend a few years ago, only to be turned away at the door. But that's another story for another time. Nevertheless, this event brought a bunch of interesting games, and I've gone through a bunch of them, and the following are my picks for the best demos of the bunch. If this were a dog show, they'd be the best in show. But it's not just this event. I've been diving into the Steam demo pool lately, and after I'm done going over the Ludonarracon entries, I have a few other games to talk about. Some really interesting ones with demos that definitely caught my attention. Mind you, this list does not include any game or demo that I have already covered in the previous demo reel for the Steam Next Fest. Trust me, I saw plenty of familiar faces listed for Ludonarracon. But let's get to it. It's time for the demo reel. Moses and Plato, The Last Train to Clawville. The Wild Gentlemen are on a roll. This is the third game from them in development. The other two are a space horror FPS, and the other is Chicken Police Into the Hive, the sequel to Chicken Police, which I covered in the last demo reel. Not only that, but Moses and Plato is set in the Chicken Police universe. We in fact see these two characters in the Into the Hive demo. But unlike Chicken Police, which is your traditional point-and-click affair, Moses and Plato Last Train to Clawville is much more of a deductive reasoning game where you interview suspects and use your heightened senses to get extra information from what you listen, see, or smell, and then draw connections between the suspects to understand what's going on. It also expands the universe's lore, setting up Clawville as something of an analog to maybe the British Empire, up to and including having different colonies. It's really interesting what they're doing with the setting, and much like the demo for Into the Hive, this one is really long, giving you a good feel for the mechanics and already introducing you to some of the characters that make up the mystery you'll be solving. That of the murder of a general of an enemy nation, riding on the last train to Clawville for a treaty negotiation between his nation and Clawville, as apparently they've been locked into a centuries-long war. This one is definitely wishlisted. I am dying to play this full game. Last Time I Saw You, described as a cozy and relaxing exploration game, I in fact found the demo quite exciting. You play Ayumi, a boy in a Japanese village only days away from a reported typhoon. You explore the town and go on errands for your mom, but Ayumi's not having the best of times, given that he's been having recurrent dreams of exploring a strange landscape and meeting a woman who vanishes as he approaches, and he's been having the same dream for days. When the typhoon finally hits, it proves to be something much more complicated than expected, as there are dark spirits flying about, attacking the character, forcing him to grab a bat and go wailing on them. The demo ends with the character overwhelmed by the dark spirits, but comforted by the presence of the strange woman from his dreams as he loses consciousness. The Steam page describes it as a story of magical realism where you explore a dark forest and interact with figures from Japanese mythology. And given that it's mentioned as an exploration game, and from some of the stuff I see in the trailers, I can confidently call this a Metroidvania, or at the very least, Metroidvania adjacent. And that combined with the mythology, with how much I enjoy mythology, yeah, wishlisted for sure. Minds Beneath Us. At the start of the demo, I didn't really understand what was going on, and in fact, I was getting a bit frustrated. I thought the meandering conversations between two criminals, one of them clearly having memory issues, was perhaps not the best way to showcase what the game was about. Until I made a choice in the conversation and saw the other character in the room suddenly drop, like unconscious. And the landscape outside the window glitched out and shifted to an observation room, with people commenting on how my character was a defective product, but still given the chance to try to get as much information out of the other individual in the room, learning that we were inside a simulation meant for interrogation. That shifted the entire thing on its head. Even more so with the knowledge that the character I was playing wasn't the owner of the body I was moving around in. No, the character is a parasite, some form of disembodied consciousness implanted in this body for the interrogation. And when things go awry again, they attempt to purge both me and the host's consciousness, only for them all to be eliminated by a figure that suddenly appears and butchers them all. Then things shift to the last section of the demo where your character, this consciousness, is shunted into another body, that of a young man in a relationship in another city, with only clear instructions being, live for yourself, make your own decisions. Gameplay-wise, maybe not the most riveting demo I tried, but I gotta admit the narrative is intriguing, and I need to see more of what it has to offer. Maybe the demo is the high point, but I'm interested enough. The Horror at Highrook. A horror digital board game is as close I can get to a description in a single sentence. A mix of the board games Elder Sign and Betrayal at House on the Hill is what I would say to board game enthusiasts. Basically someone like me. Something terrible has happened to the already disgraced Acheron family, their home empty and in disarray. The inhabitants, both the family and the servants, all gone, simply vanished. So the government has sent a multi-guild, multi-discipline team of investigators to try to piece together what happened and what befell the Acheron. You have a scholar, a rugged adventurer type, a mechanist, and a plague doctor? You get starting cards and starting rooms available in the manor, each room associated with a different type of card, so you put them there to interact with them, using the character's skills to choose the best one for the job. Upon completion, you get rewards, hints, lore, and sometimes access to new rooms, while contending with fatigue, hunger, madness, and other consequences that come as a result of their efforts. As time passes, things get worse for the investigators, with echoes appearing that drive them further insane, and the different activities even injure them. I love it when demos are long, when there's lots to play, because I can sink my teeth into them and get a good feel for what the gameplay loop is gonna be like. And for this one, the entire first chapter is available in the demo and ends with a shocking revelation and a cliffhanger. So yeah, wishlisted, and I need to see more. The Drifter. In The Drifter, you play as Mick, who's come home riding on a cargo train here for his mother's funeral and to possibly reconnect with his sister and his ex-wife. Everything starts out fairly simple. He wakes up in the train car and there's another drifter there asleep, but then suddenly wakes up hysterical and rambling. Mick manages to open the car door and immediately has to jump aside as a hail of bullets tears through the other drifter. Managing to escape this ordeal, he lands in a rough part of town, in something of a homeless camp, meeting up with familiar faces, only for things to turn on their heads once more, with spec-up-looking individuals attempting to kidnap a reporter. While he watches trying to figure out how to help, he's knocked out and wakes up underwater, his hands and feet bound, a cinder block pulling him further under. He struggles and you click on everything in desperation, but it's no use, and Mick drowns, only to wake up again, mere moments in the past, finding himself in the same situation, but this time with prior memory, knowing to take a deep breath so you have enough time to attempt your escape. From the intro, we have his family for some interesting emotional connections, we have the vagrant community, and then we have the mystery of disappearances and the fact that our character has come back to life. All that up to one hell of a mystery, and one I can't wait to unravel. It helps that the entire thing has voice acting and it's pretty damn good, so of course, wishlisted. Wonder Stars. Wonder Stars hit me in the childhood. The aesthetics are very which was a lighthearted adventuring romp with lots of humor before things got nitty-gritty in Dragon Ball Z and beyond. You play as Ringo, a precocious little child, a martial artist of the ancient art of Ki, which curiously is the term used for all the shouts done when attacking or doing moves in karate and other martial arts. But in this work, Ki is itself a combat art where words are linked together to form your attacks in your defense. So Ringo chaining Super Special Extra Fire Punch will have a different result from Super Punch. For one, it doesn't have fire and it's not extra special. The visual style is frankly adorable, and the combat is pretty fun, and sometimes when defeating enemies, you get some of their words added to your collection as more combat options. The demo is fairly long, but it's still very early in development. The UI needs a lot of work, but the core gameplay, especially the fighting, I'm really into it. It's very much the Dragon Ball version of the insult sword fighting from Monkey Island, and I'm all for it. The Mermaid Mask. Another point-and-click adventure game, which by now should tell you that this is my thing. I love these kind of games, and the Mermaid Mask does a lot well in this demo. It gets us straight into the action with our characters hanging out in a bar in a dilapidated town. One of them, our point of view protagonist, Detective Grimoire, is studying the case files and keeping an eye out while his companion Sally is having a little nap. Suddenly, a bright and strange green light pierces the gloom. Their case is to investigate who murdered the captain of a submarine, and curiously, what would they find as the source of the light but the submarine itself? While preparing for this video, I discovered that this is the third entry into the Detective Grimoire series. Though from the demo alone, I can tell that even if you haven't played any of the previous games, like me, I'm sure that you'll have a fun time getting to know the characters during their time in the investigation. As for our victim, the captain seems to have been killed by something that was locked inside of a cauldron when he opened it. And with deep seas and strange sights, this looks to be an intriguing adventure. So definitely wishlist it, and I'm gonna go play the previous entries as well. I'm curious now. Tavern Talk. The last little cozy demo of this Ludonarracon, at least in terms of the games that drew my attention. And it's a bit of a twist, especially for a D&D player like myself. For in this game, you're not the adventurer, you are not the hero, you're the innkeeper. So given how frequently games start with a party meeting in a tavern, this time you're the guy serving them drinks. And also the guy putting up the notices on the quest board. It helps that the mixology in this game is as wondrous as the world. Instead of having certain liquors and spirits, you have straight up ability score improving liquids. So your brews for the clientele are very much ability buffing potions, raising their strength, vitality, defense, even doing some infusions with powerful herbs that grant them haste or other such spell-like effects. It's an interesting take on the barkeep simulator, and of course, because you are running a bar, a good chunk of the game is talking to your patrons. From the wolf-like adventurer that refuses to hunt for a werewolf on the off chance it's part of her estranged family, to the elven ranger that is truly terrified of leaving their grove and has a truly pessimistic outlook on life despite having quite the bubbly personality. I'm very interested in seeing the full product. The demo had a few days worth of gameplay and introduced some of the key mechanics, including combining different rumors to create quests for the board. But I could tell that the demo merely scratched the surface of everything you'll be doing in Tavern Talk. So most definitely it's getting wishlisted. Now, that's all for Ludonarracon, but as I mentioned, I've been delving into other demos recently, and here they are. Valefor. I went into Valefor thinking I was playing a dungeon crawler. I thought it would be a case of tactical combat, maybe some party dynamics. That's not what Valefor is. The dungeon crawler part is correct, but it's really an auto battler. You select your units, equip them with stuff you find in the dungeon, and place them on the combat field, and then you start the fight. After that, it's out of your hands, and the AI takes care of pitting your foes against the enemies. It's strangely addicting, and as much as I dislike the equipment and upgrade mechanics, I can't deny that Valefor hooked me, and I didn't realize that an hour had gone by. White Cat Town Mystery, a cozy little adventure game where you play as a feline coming back to the town of his childhood and meeting up with his old friends from high school, who have gone on to have very different lives, but the warmth and camaraderie is still there. Except for one of their friends who is a no-show for the reunion. And our protagonist meets her the next day and just finds the shell of the person they knew, which puts him on the path of figuring out what's going on in the town he once called home. It's primarily a visual novel, but there is some puzzling elements and I'm intrigued, and I want to know more about these characters and how they got there. G.I. Joe, Wrath of Cobra. I'm gonna keep it simple. I'm a child of the 80s and G.I. Joe was part of my Saturday morning cartoon lineup. So playing a G.I. Joe beat 'em up is so right up my alley and it's really fun. I often find beat 'em ups to be hit or miss, but this one, definitely a hit. I really enjoyed the demo, and the fact the intro is so evocative of the original cartoon. I just need more, give me more. So wishlisted, of course. And the last demo, Mythwrecked. In Mythwrecked, you find yourself shipwrecked on an island with a distinct Greek feel to it. Looking for a place to take cover from the elements, you come across a statue that speaks and claims to be the Oracle, telling you that this is a very special island, and to take a little tablet thing with you as it might come in handy. Further exploring the island, you find Hermes and realize this is an island full of gods, but some things happen to them. For example, Hermes can barely remember who he is, let alone who the other gods are. In fact, he's terrified of them until you manage to connect with him and help him find some of his important items, his satchel for the mail he carried, and his wonderful sandals. Mythwrecked is a game about befriending Greek gods, to learn what happened to them, how their bonds frayed, and maybe figure out how to fix them. And along the way, maybe get some help on getting off the island. I love mythology, and I'm a sucker for Greek mythology. And Mythwrecked just hits all the right buttons for me. Granted, the gameplay is not what I would call riveting, but the mythology nerd in me wins out every time. So that's it for all the demos this time. Thank you for joining me for this demo reel. And if any of these games come out, you can be sure I'll be doing a little follow-up on them. See you on the next one.